Welcome, everybody, to the Synapse Philosophy Group. I am Dr. Haig John, your host, and we have got a good group tonight. We're on D.D. Palmer's 1910 book, The Chiropractor's Adjuster, adjusting us back to true north. We're on page 466 of The Chiropractor's Adjuster, and I'm going to start reading. We're getting a little bit of a late start today, but we're going to rock this out. Now, it's important to understand how Dee is doing this book. He talks about something. There is a printed copy about chiropractor, whatever it is, and he's correcting the chiropractic acumen, chiropractic vocabulary, keeping it on track and correcting us. So most people take this book, they misquote it. They quote the part that we're also so used to saying these things, and very often, and he's putting it back on track. So we want to read this book very, very carefully. Now, a 40-page chiropractic book lies before me. It is well gotten up. Some portions are copied, but so well connected that one not well versed in chiropractic literature would never notice it. The writer refers to nerves being impinged upon and pinched. These two terms are not synonymous. They have different meanings, and a nerve can only be pinched or squeezed between two hard bodies, such as bone. An impinged nerve has pressure on one side only. The author of chiropractic states that nerves may be impinged upon by any displaced bone, but pinched only by fracture and extreme displacement. It is difficult to rid ourselves of stereotyped phrases, even when we know they are not correct, such as every ill to which the human race is heir. We do not inherit our ills, and we've proven that now in the genome projects. Those things can be turned on and off. Other systems of healing. Other systems of healing. Chiropractic is not a system of healing. It is one of adjusting for relief. Now that's interesting here. Afflict the human race implies that someone, an intelligent being, the evil one, or a witch did the afflicting. Such is not chiropractic. Remedies cure.
But then we
Adjust
have to look at that one
relief.
sentence there about chiropractic, that adjusting is not relief for a second. I think that what he's saying there is that that it is one of adjusting for relief. It's for relief of the interference.
I would say it's the relief of tension is what he was talking about.
Yeah,
Nerve tension. What do you
yeah.
guys think? Yeah, I think that's an
Barry went to
important
sleep
factor,
there.
Alan. I was thinking the same thing. That he means something by that. And he also, how would you say lies before me? Is it L-Y or L-I-E-S? So,
But I think you see, because he's saying it's not a system of healing, but it's a system for relief. So
yeah,
it's a relief of the interference or the stress or what's disturbing the tone, but it's not about it's not the healing. He's right away saying, because this is he's talking about BJ here and the stuff that he wrote
this is
primarily, I
exactly
think.
what he's doing.
And BJ, they talk a lot about healing, and I think it's confused a lot of people today. But those guys knew that if they removed the interference, the body was going to improve and get better, and symptoms would go away, and that's what they were talking about healing. But it's a
The potential
again,
for
it was a
healing is
marketing.
what
It
they're
was a
talking
marketing
about,
tool.
right?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
The potential for healing is what they were talking about. Now, your
Yeah,
potential for healing, it's not increased, it's getting back to normal, the way we're meant to be.
yeah, but we're not promising this that we're going to heal or that symptoms are going to go away. Sometimes symptoms get worse before they get better.
Well, I'm going to tell you a story. Today, we had a lovely lady who I've known a short period, a neighbor, and had been diagnosed with with a a big issue. And I said, really, we clear the atlas, we clear the upper cervical, we clear the body and the nerve system to allow the greatest potential for you to function at your best. Whatever you're going through, the treatments and all those things, it's better to have a clear functioning nerve system, period, than not as you're going through that, right? No matter what, you're not going to be feeling great. Let's put it that way. But ultimately, your best potential to function at your best, to heal and get through it, is having a clear functioning nerve system. You can't tell any more truth than that in reality, in my world, right? That
Yeah.
subluxation is affecting your central nerve system. Having that subluxation cleared, you're functioning at your best. Each day we want to work a little bit better. As Sigafus also used to talk about, you're creating your stem cells. All those cells in your body, you're making the best you can today. You just cleared that subluxation, might be 6 months ago. It's still coming back. You're not holding it yet. The more you hold that subluxation clear as unsubluxated, then you're producing the best cells you can each time, better and better. You don't, the body doesn't repair cells, we replace them, right? So this time, hey man, Alan, you're getting the best liver cell I can give you today. It was better than yesterday's. We're doing it better today, right? That's why we cheer this body on. Absolutely. Thank you. Each day is better and better. Man, Christian, it's good to see you see your face. Howdy. How's it down in Mexico? You look pretty bundled up, man. It looks cold down there. It's cold here in Florida. So,
It's very cold.
yeah, I bet. I bet. We're very cold in Florida. I'm wearing flip-flops and long pants, man. You know it's cold.
It must be all at 50 degrees, right? It's,
Well, I like how he starts this off.
yeah,
The booklet lies before me. And it's a double entendre of where he's spelling it Lies. It's lying before me
yeah.
in
It
multiple
lies.
ways here,
That's
right?
right.
And then he goes on to his rant. Um, would somebody else like to read? Alan, would you like to pick this up?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Page 12, remedies, cure, adjusting, relieves. Page 12, the hands are not instruments. The thrust is not a rock. Quote, straighten a displaced vertebra, unquote. By replacing the displaced vertebra, he would straighten the spine. He cannot straighten a vertebra. The liver, spleen, pancreas, and kidneys are secretive and excretive vegetative functions. Page 21. This is going back to the same thing as we were talking about earlier. He's quoting things here from the book, and then he's talking about it.
Yeah.
Quote, nerves are life, unquote. Nerves are the conveyors of functions, function expressed in action, life. Quote, goiters disappear when the nerve supply has been restored that had been cut off by a cervical displacement, unquote. Goiters are growths because of an oversupply of nutrition, excessive vegetative functioning. Instead of functionating being cut off, there's too much functional activity. Goiters are because of impinged dorsal, not cervical nerves. This chiropractor wrote me, quote, I am a chiropractor and practice nothing but chiropractic, unquote. His book states on page 20 that he uses chiropractic with traction. Traction is drawing or stretching the body by a machine. This is orthopedic or osteopathic. It is not chiropractic in bold letters. Quote, by twisting the vertebra from its normal position, that the nerve trunks are pinched and irritated, which certainly must disturb their function, which is nothing more or less than disease, unquote. This sentence states, function is nothing more or less than disease. He should have said, and no doubt intended to say, that deranged functions or structure harder or softer than normal or displaced organs result in disease. someone or more of the fibers of the nerve trunk may be impinged upon and irritated. Keep on going here.
Yeah, yep, keep going. It's important, this stuff.
On page 6, he says, the dorsal nerves, quote, divide into 3 branches, unquote, and gives their functions. He should understand that the spinal nerves of the dorsal region divide into 4 branches immediately upon leaving the spinal column. The recurrent nerve, which furnishes innervation to the meninges of the brain and spinal cord because of an impingement, furnishes too much or not enough functionating. A surplus or lack of heat to the brain and spinal cord, producing degeneration or calcification, myelitis or atrophy, hydromyelia or syringomyelia, pardon me, or
You know why I let you
syringomyelia.
read now? I wanted you to read that one. That was a hard one.
That's a good word. That's a
Syringomyelia.
hard word. When you haven't seen it, especially if you haven't seen it in a while, right?
It's almost like speaking Polish if you never did it, you know?
Tuberculosis or syphilis, meningitis or ischemia, palatia or sclerosis. This recurrent nerve he did not mention. As the president of a chiropractic school, he should recognize this nerve, which returns back to the spinal canal, functionating the meninges of the brain and spinal cord. He should know it may be impinged upon and also how to relieve that pressure.
Hold on now.
Well,
Okay. So what's he getting at in here? You know, this is the chiropractor adjuster. How have we just been adjusted? What do you guys think? Go ahead, Barry.
The key thing that I got tonight is instead of a nerve pinch, which we still use in our lingo, scientifically, philosophically, but also with the patients, is DD saying it's an impingement. It's not a pinched nerve. It's a nerve impingement.
Yeah.
And I believe that also comes from DD believing more in the 3D, 4D, 5-dimensional aspect of the subluxation complex, not just the mechanical nerve, or cord. That's my belief, that last part.
That's excellent. Thank you for your insight. Anybody else? Yeah. He's setting it straight. I follow you right along with that, and that's excellent. And he brings it out as the president of a chiropractic school. He should know, which it's fun seeing a lot of this, and with you get some history. You have to know the history. We got to know our philosophy. One thing people drop off on that, you got to know your history, and I think you should also know what's going on in the times around these areas and what was happening in history around the world at that time. Very, very, very important stuff as they're developing world-changing things at this time.
And speaking of the history, we were thinking about this, or I was thinking about this. This may not be directly to BJ as well, because most of his students did go off and start their own little schools back in the early 1900s. In late 1800s, there were little practices schools, hospitals, sanitariums left and right. You could do that. And there was also Carver, who was very popular and had schools. And Carver went on and, became Cleveland now. It's Continuum. But there was also, other schools in LA and Portland that he left as well. And I believe if it was truly about BJ, he talks about this little booklet. But if it was truly about BJ, he usually says, my son or BJ,
And, to your point, it's absolutely true. I really feel the same thing, because when he's talking about tractioning and drawing out with is not chiropractic, BJ never really, he didn't do that.
Right.
No.
Absolutely. Good point.
It wasn't in any of our research that, we've all read through those things. So very likely, I think you're 100% on point there, Barry, that he's talking about one of the other jokers that opened up something somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The rhetoric in our head is, it's about his son. The president of another school. It's got to be about BJ. It's always BJ, right? But actually, no, especially with that. That's great observation.
Traction is a giveaway. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, that's why we talk about it and break it down. it's fun to see the rivalry. We have history with it, but in reality, let's look at it with clear eyes and dissect it a little bit, just like you did. And I think you're 100% on target.
It's not all the rivalry, but what we're doing here is we're looking at the progenitor and his opinion of the things that are devolving from the thing that he started, and trying to get it straight, if you will.
I want to back up a second. You can't read that from there, but this is from the 1906 book. But this part is from D.D. Palmer, and you'll know why, because there are clues they leave for us. The people need light in order to protect themselves from the germo, antitoxin, vaccine, radii, electro, microbious, lush death producers. D.D. Palmer. It's like page 40 or something like that in the 1906 book. And I think that's where we're going to go next after this, because it's the least dug into book of them all. And that's the one, and I know the history of that one, of Dee Dee saying, I'm not ready to release this yet. BJ said, I'm gonna release it. I don't know what was written by him and what was Dee Dee, and I've asked the questions to many of our scholars, and the questions have not been answered as of yet, so we need to dive into it. I've read it and outlined it a couple of times and used it on my shirt, but I haven't read the whole book yet, because it's a big one just like this. But I think we should get into that one pretty soon, after we get deeper into this one again, and do it the same way. Take chunks at a time. That'd be a lot of fun. A lot of fun for us, right? Not the
I
rest
love
of the
it.
world.
I've been missing these calls, guys. I'm so happy to be with you guys tonight.
I'm happy to be with you guys too. Sometimes you need a break, man. We need a little break. Got a lot going on. Hey, we just have a date: innate newborn adjusting and subluxation analysis for newborns. I'm teaching at Sherman on campus this year. So, and that's going to be February 1st. I think February 1st, something like that. First weekend in February at Sherman. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We've got CEs that are from Sherman. They are doing it. We're going to do it through Sherman for the first time. We don't have Florida for some reason, and I live in Florida. Anyway, but I hope you guys can join us, and hope people can join us in for that one.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a road.
When you were talking earlier about what DD was saying in this affliction and healing and stuff, it was the scientist in DD that led him to the discovery, right? And we know that when we read him, he can also get very philosophical. And his reply to this booklet here, this is the scientist in DD. He's being very technical with his wording, and he's not being very, I'm going to say, very deep, heady. And he's being very specific and peculiar about it. And this is the scientist in him. And I was thinking about the affliction of the human race at that beginning. I didn't know if he was going to go to, oh yeah, it's the subluxation about the whole race as a whole, not just one person. You're talking about a pinched nerve. I'm talking about impingement on a soul that affects many souls, an affliction of a human race. But he didn't get that way. He got very specific on the vertebrae and straighten it out, etc. So that was the scientist in him, which led to his discovery of our profession.
Very insightful. Absolutely. What do you think, gentlemen? Should we keep moving forward?
Ready to go.
Let's do it, Alan.
It remained for the chiropractic school to discover the exact relation and to solve the problem of rectifying the wrong, unquote. I solved that problem years before he or anyone else had a school, long before he taught it to anyone. Why not tell it as it is? Why prevaricate? How could a school discover the principles upon which chiropractic was founded? Someone had to know the relation between subluxation and impingement before the school was formed. No school discovered a relation between subluxated joints, that's a hyphenated, subluxated joints, and the impingement of nerves. I think that's a significant sentence. No school discovered the relationship between subluxated joints and the impingement of nerves. That these conditions excite the atoms which compose the nerves, creating too much heat. By its overtension, vibrations are too great, carrying capacity increased, resulting in too much functioning, which is disease. I taught these principles to the writer of this booklet. Why should he say they were discovered by the chiropractic school? Although he does not state that his school made this discovery, the reader, if he was not on his guard for misrepresentations, would be led to believe that his was the one referred to.
Yeah, I mean, he's defending himself as, hey, back off. This is from the Fountainhead, not from some joker out here is claiming it's a school, and I don't think he is talking about BJ more and more. Go ahead.
On the next page, he repeats this falsehood, saying, quote, chiropractic is positively the first school to adjust displaced osseous tissue, unquote. That is a positive lie. Whether written by Salvation Army captain or the president of a chiropractic school. I love that line. I adjusted displaced osseous tissue, vertebrae, long before there was a school, years before I taught it to anyone. And that's the end of a section. And then
That's the end
we
of
can
that
go on
section.
from there if you want to talk.
I would put money on it that that president of that school was a Salvation Army captain. And if we find out who that was, that's the name of that president.
That's
Let's
interesting.
write that down. Can you guys remember? We'll post that on Todd Waters' page. I haven't been on his page for a while. Anybody take a note for that one on this one, and let's see what comes up of who this president might be that he was talking about.
Do you think, or was that a slap at? It could have possibly been a slap at BJ as a Freemason. They wore some uniforms too.
Well, he also dressed as that captain. He called himself Captain
Yeah.
BJ or whatever it was, and he wore that outfit. Maybe that's what he was talking about. I don't know.
No, he was colonel, and he got
Colonel. Was it Colonel?
but he got that. He didn't just dress up that way. He was honored that.
What's the story behind it? Do you know the history?
Yep, you become a colonel through the state of Kentucky, but it's an honor. Somebody who look it up.
So it's an honorary achievement, like the keys to the city. Like you're a distinguished person in our town, and we respect you.
Yep.
And you have the title of colonel. Is that?
Yep.
That's probably an old time thing,
Yep.
Kentucky colonel.
So Colonel Sanders was one of them, right? BJ Palmer, but there was other colonels too.
Well, I'm sure.
Kentucky colonel.
That makes makes sense. That makes sense. All right, I'm going to read this next one, okay?
Here you go. Kentucky colonel is the highest title of honor bestowed on the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It is the most well-known colonelcy in the United States, according to Wikipedia.
Colonelcy. It's something I'd like to strive for at the moment. I think that would be really cool. Colonel Haig, I'm joking around, but it's amazing. These guys, you think about how much did that man accomplish? Think about it. By his 30s and 40s, he was, deep in radio stations and all kinds of amazingness, cutting edge technology above and beyond the rest, striving forward for better every single time. BJ Palmer, and he got that from his dad, who did research and look and get into this. One of the most learned men of human physiology, definitely of the vertebral column and the central nerve system in the world at the time. BJ Palmer followed suit and went absolutely hog wild and amazing. We wouldn't have what we have now. Okay. So we might talk about a little bit of the jab here and a jab there, but we bless them for blessing us so we can bless others. That's the way I look at it with chiropractic care. All right. I'm going to read this next paragraph. A recent graduate of the PSC says, a chiropractor is qualified to diagnose without asking a single question. I would think this is a mistake or misprint, where it not that others have made the same statement. If such a thing is possible, I will pay liberally to be shown how it is done. This statement is false, fraudulent, calculated to deceive and obtain money by deception. I do not believe the PSC teaches that a chiropractor can diagnose each and every case without asking a single question. Unless it can be done, the editor ought not to be allowed to mention of it and go into the pages. Chiropractic is good enough without lying about it. Chiropractic finds the cause of disease, removes it. And this is in quotes. Chiropractic finds the cause of disease, comma, removes it, in quotes. Then I think this is BJ. Chiropractors find the cause of disease and remove it. The science does not. What's he mean there? The science
Because it's the chiropractor finds the cause of disease and removes it. The chiropractor addresses the interference, the subluxation.
Chiropractic
does not find it. Chiropractic doesn't find it. The chiropractor finds it.
And chiropractic is the science of chiropractic. Chiropractor. This is the last section we're going to go through. The annual announcement states that PSC was established 1895. PSC announcement of 1904 states on page 4, we realize, this is in quotes, after testing this science for 9 years, that we have a method of inestimable value to suffering humanity. It is so considered by every physician who had the courage. We have many graduates who are successfully practicing this science, proving beyond a doubt that others can do just what D.D. Palmer, the discoverer, is doing, realizing that in order to have the benefits far-reaching, it must be taught in all its entirety. Therefore, with this end in view, our school was started 7 years ago. The above is copied almost verbatim from a 1904 annual announcement on page 4, which was written by D.D. Palmer. BJ has developed much of my writing by copying. The above will be found as developed in the PFC announcement number 4. In 1904, the school had been open 7 years. There was one student in 1895, one student in 1898, 3 in 1899, 2 in 1900, 5 in 1901, 4 in 1902. Among the latter was B.J. Palmer. So B.J. was in the school in 1902. The school was opened in 1897, but was not in session. Did not have a student until 1898. Counting the first student as the founding of the school, the PSC has been running 11 years. Instead of 1895, 24. Why not tell it just as it is? He's saying, I'm not bragging. We busted it and busted hard. You think about it. I mean, I've done talks, one person there. It's not easy. Teaching a whole class for a whole thing, getting that chiropractor, that one doctor in that first year, 2 in the next, right? You know, you have to have some gumption to say, I am still doing this for a purpose to change the world. He had to be doing other jobs at this point. Does anybody know about the history of D.D. Palmer at this time? Barry, you got something?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So technically, at the beginning it says 1885,
85,
not
and so in the last paragraph too.
And we automatically think 1895, and at the end it says 1885 as well.
Yeah, 24 years, 1885.
Yeah.
So,
it did say established 1885.
Yep. So you naturally said 1895 both times.
I did.
So,
well, this is what he's saying, that BJ is embellishing to 1885, and he's saying I don't need to do that. This is where it starts from 1895. Is that Do we have that timeline correct? And
Right.
then
Well, yeah. I would say this. Dee Dee's upset, and it changed from the Palmer School of and Infirmary, School of Magnetic Cure. It was so many different names over all these years. He's picking on this right here and what BJ is saying. You know, it's his son. Like, hey, back in 1885, because that's when he professionally became right a magnetic healer and started doing stuff instead of being a teacher and a postmaster and all the other stuff. So he's picking at this, and it's just a little argument that they always have.
well, you know,
But the
he's
rest of that
acknowledging
paragraph
him.
is based on he says the first announcement in 1904, the first it and then says goes back to that and says in 1904 the school had been open 7 years, and then he goes back and says the first student was 98, which would have been about 7 years, 6 years, 7 years. So
Yeah.
that's
He's
that's
saying
he's
it's a
validating
lot to be
when
proud
he
of.
started, when PSC started, was it in was in 98 when he taught that first student.
Yeah. You know, and that's a lot to be proud of. That's what he's saying. You know, and he's saying to his son, look, you don't have to embellish it. This is amazing. You know, good job, son. And he's acknowledging him. He's keeping it rolling. And I think he's also acknowledging his son, but he's also saying, like I would say to my kid, hey, man, this is a lot to be proud of. We don't have to, he's not a bragger anyway. But no matter what, I think he's still acknowledging him. They're doing a darn good job by that point. They have a lot to pat themselves on the back. And you know, I feel honored to be a part of it. Absolutely. Christian, it's so good to see your face. All you guys, it's been a little while. We took a little break. I needed a break a little bit. We all do. I just moved two offices into one, and I don't have to drive as much, and I can get here on Tuesdays a little bit easier. You guys have no idea what it took to get here sometimes, man. So much that I just gave up for a while. I couldn't even do it. So you know, it
That and your
takes a
son's
lot.
football.
We have reasons to pat ourselves on the back. And now Tuesdays I've freed up some time so I could be more with you all and serve chiropractic, and we can work on changing the world together. And I'm going to pull that out this next announcement. Look out for our documentary. It's called Save the Babies. We're editing it right now, and we have the release date. I'm looking for April. My birthday's April 2nd. We're going to do it April 3rd. Okay. Because I got to have a birthday party before all this. But Save the Babies, chiropractic, vaccines, food, poisons. And I asked Christian if they use glyphosate down in Mexico. He said, you guys don't use it. Am I right? But you know, these poisonous things are in our food supply. People aren't getting adjusted. And I want to see a chiropractor in every NICU in the world. I'd love to see a chiropractor in every labor and delivery ward in every hospital. Every baby get checked and every mommy get checked while she's in delivery in labor. Could you imagine how fewer C-sections we would see? Healthier babies for the rest of their lives. Little dads relieved, like, oh my gosh, everybody's safe, right? Adjusting dads too, we need it. So that's what that movie's going to bring about. You guys will see it before anybody else. All right. Anybody have any last comments or anything before we end the night? I miss you. Go ahead, Christian.
You guys say something very interesting today, and I was asking, you guys said that people before, when people come to your office, sometimes they go a bit worse with their symptoms. How do you explain to them that it's a natural part of the adjustment?
Go ahead, Alan. You go first.
I got a story for you, right? And sometimes the symptoms are actually worse, and sometimes they just think they're worse. But and I don't know if I might have told this story on here before. I had a woman came to see me one time in a snowstorm. She called up and said, my chiropractor's in or not in her office. I can't feel my leg. I can't walk. I can't walk. Can I come and see you? I was in my office, said, sure, come on in. She comes in, there's two guys with her because she can't walk, and she can't feel her leg and can't walk. I got her on the table, I checked her, I adjusted her, she starts screaming. Oh, it hurts. It hurts. Oh my God, I can't believe it. It feels so bad. Oh, it hurts. I can't stand it. What did you do? What did you do? Was it better or was it worse? To her, it was worse, significantly worse. I looked at her and I said, you know, I removed some interference and now you can feel the leg, can't you? You couldn't feel it before. Is it better that you can feel it or you can't feel it? She wasn't happy with that. I said, I tell you what. I said, I'm give it a 3 or 4 hours and it's going to start to feel much better. Her chiropractor called me the next day and said, what did you do? She said, she thinks you walk on water. She says, not only did the pain go away, but it went away like in exactly 4 hours. You know, I gave her a mental adjustment as well as a physical adjustment. You know, and you explain it because the body is trying to heal. And what it needs to do to heal sometimes creates something that may be a symptom. I mean, think about it. What are spurs on the spine? It's an adaptation to stabilize an area that has a problem. But it's the innate doing its job. And sometimes, and people, I've seen lots of films of people that get regular care and those spurs start to go away.
Oh, I've seen
And people
it.
say, how does
My
that
office.
happen? And he says, does your body reabsorb calcium in your jaw as you get older and your old people have smaller jaws? My teeth are coming together because I'm getting old. But
Christian,
so why can't it reabsorb calcium from the spine that's bad? The body wants to heal. The symptoms are just that. They're symptoms of the work the body's doing to make the job work better. They're not always what we want them to be in our
so
head.
yeah, communicating that to your people. Give it time. They just have to trust. All they're looking for is somebody to trust. Your body's healing. Give it time. You know, you're the authority. They have to, if you have spine surgery, you're in pain for years before you feel better. Just even the rehab. Say, you know, look at your options. Give it a little time, let your body heal, do what I tell you, follow your orders. You're going to get better. Your body's going to have the highest potential to heal itself. That's what you say. But then you're really just building trust. Trust me, give it time. That's what you're doing. Authority. Dr. Sid Williams has a great book, but The Lasting Purpose. And I'm going to see if we can get some to Mexico. And but that's what he talks about is really just having authority in what we do. Like Alan felt confident enough. Look, your body's healing. I did everything is perfectly right. You just have to trust it. See you tomorrow. Next. We're not going to dwell on this all day with you complaining, is what I like to
I
say.
did tell her to go see her doctor, then her chiropractor the next day. And if Betsy wasn't back in her office, I said, call me again.
Yeah,
I
there
said,
you
I'm here to
go.
help you.
Yeah, Christian,
Exactly.
right on for that person, for you being who they are, for them telling you that, first of all. And I would reply this like, thank God you're listening to that symptom and sign. The next part is you don't feel it and you lose that and you destroy it. Like, thank God you're listening to this and get them to react and take action. Because the next part is, right? Nerve death and decay. You can't feel it. Much worse. Good job.
Good job.
Thank you.
Everybody, have a great night. We're back on Tuesday. Let's send these out. Those links. We'll get this link working again. Go ahead. Go ahead.
One more thing. In the book, we read a part that says subluxation has nerve impingement. A pinched nerve is a displacement of a vertebra that literally displaces as much as a fractured vertebra that really pinches the nerve. What does it mean of when there's impingement of the nerve, if there's nothing that really pinches the nerve?
Inhibiting, right? Because DD talked more about nerve tension than he talked about pinching, right? So it's inhibiting the nerve. Not pinching is directly, blocking it. But when we're talking about impingement, it's inhibiting its function. Would you guys agree?
And it changes the function. It can be
Yeah.
too much or too little, right? It's something that's irritating. An impingement is an irritation to the nerve that may lower the production of the transmission or aggravate the transmission of information.
Okay, my question was because those are some words that I have trouble translating into Spanish, so I can tell my
Yeah.
patients what really impingement means. So that's why I have some questions, but I
Makes-
We
understand.
talked about it in one of the other books we were reading. I'm not, I don't remember
But
where.
that makes a lot of sense. So, you know, I guess you would say less function. Less function. Yeah. I'm going to ask my wife that in Portuguese too and see what she says because I'm trying to translate things into Portuguese and Spanish, you know, it's not an easy task. We did 1914 we translated into Spanish and we did volume 33 into Spanish. And there's a lot of it takes a lot to go back and review all that.
There's a guy
Guys,
that
we
I
run
think
out of time tonight. Okay, we're back on Tuesday. Now, Christian, you know the timing now, 7 p.m. on your side in Mexico. Um, and we'll go from there. Good night, everybody. See you
there's a
next
guy in
week.
Japan translating the books. Think about that.